Hi, I'm Ted. So I lead the web and mobile team in IT services. And I'm going to talk about birds, but before I talk about birds, I'm going to talk about their natural enemies, a cat. About a year ago, we came up with this idea, and we made this prototype of tweeting in images with a hashtag and getting back items from the collection. Right? So I tweeted in my black cat and got back this item from the Pitt Rivers. Right? And it works really, really well. We also provide a link that shows some of the other results that you can get. And so you'll see that we've got lots of cat-related things up there. We've got things from across GLAM, which is quite good. There's a lion there, but that's sort of a big cat, so this is quite good. And it worked well with flowers, for example. So I could tweet in a flower, and I'd get back something from the Botanic Gardens, and I could do a musical instrument, and I'd get back a musical instrument or a painting with a guitar in it. That's great. Until I tweeted in this guy. Now, we kind of get good results, right? And you would think, well, what's the difference between a bird and a cat, except for one eats the other? But we get pretty good results. You can see there's some paintings and stuff, and then there's this, what is that? There's this big sort of wooden stick. Well, it turns out this big wooden stick, well, it's actually kind of small wooden stick, but anyway, it's made by John Bird. One John Bird from London, who's an instrument maker, made it, I think, in about 1773. I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you are thinking, well, but that's okay, right? We're lateral thinkers. This is serendipitous discovery. It's kind of cool that, if I put in a bird, I'll get back something unexpected. And, it's a barometer. It measures the air, and birds, they fly through. Well, never mind. Most of you are probably thinking, no, that's rubbish. I tweeted in a bird, and I want to get birds back. And in fact, I gave you a specific type of bird, one with a scientific name, right? And you gave me back completely unrelated birds. Well, you're not alone. We tested this with students, and about half of them were pretty excited and thought it was pretty cool and liked the serendipitous discovery, and about half of them had the Marmite reaction, the other reaction, which is, no, this is rubbish. Give me back something that's much more related. So what do? Well, it turns out that what we're doing is a very, very narrow way, or a very shallow way of interrogating data. Essentially, we're doing a Google search. Right? It's a custom search, it's across just certain websites and that sort of thing, but it's very, 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 very shallow. Google's great. Google gave us quite a lot of good results, and across lots of different objects and stuff, but it doesn't give us perfect results. Now, part of what's wrong with Google, for our purposes, is that you put in a term, and you get back results, and those results are things that you, a human, have to read, determine what's relevant, what's not relevant, what's going to work for your purposes, and what won't. What we need for the types of things that we want to do is we need something called an application programming interface, an API. And I know what you're thinking. What on earth is that? An API is basically a system that gives you, or that allows you to query things in a standard format, get stuff back in a standard format, so that it's machine-readable, so that I can program something to go get this data and then parse through it and do some logic to determine whether it's relevant or not. And I, as a human, don't have to do that. Well, why is this good? Well, it means that any app can get data in a way that it understands. That data can be remixed and repurposed, and people can engage in new ways. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? In the end, is we're trying to engage people. All of this technology, all this talk about an API, all that stuff, it's about engaging people. And so that's what we're building. And the dream is that in the future we could have this sort of standard interface to data across all of the various collections and all of our data that needs to be accessed by various types of apps, and everything will be rational. And we're working towards that, but we're taking baby steps. What does an API sort of look like? Well, I can program my application to go and fetch data from search catalog with a query of bird, and I'll get back this structured information that my computer can then go through and perform logic to see if it's relevant or not. Maybe I'm interested in people after all, so I can go to parties, which is another way of saying people, and get people with the last name Bird, or some other reference to bird, but I'm getting people back. So we're starting to use this to power a prototype for the online collections for this museum, and you can see already what we can do is we can separate out the items, the catalog items that bring back, come back from a search for bird, and the people that do. And so there's our John Bird. But it also helps solve these types of problems, where we need to disambiguate information. So we could do a search for the common name bird over the collection and not maker equals bird, right? And we can get better results. We can also look at taxonomy if we wanted and get even closer results. But not only that, not only can we categorize and disambiguate information, we can start to use it in much more creative ways. Up here at the top is a visualization of museums, of a museum collection of paintings over time, and the dimensions of those. And even more interesting, there's a painting of paintings in a collection and their dimensions, right? So that's generated by data, and it shows all the different dimensions of paintings in the tape. If you can get machines to read the data, you can start to get them to learn from the data. These are all examples of innovative ways to train computers to look at, or train algorithms to look at museum data, Google culture and arts data, and identify patterns and give you ways to interrogate those patterns. That's a landscape that you can fly through based on various aspects of the paintings, in this case, color. So basically, by making an API, something that gives you data in a standard format in response to a standardized query that a computer can read, you can form the basis of all sorts of new ways to creatively interact with data. Thank you very much.